The game shows has released the new FAQ about Age of Sigmar 4th edition Skaventide the 17 December 2025. Here you can see that there's been quite a lot of updates about Skujogina and faction packs, but a little adjustment, and we see quite soon because I'll make this video about, and they are all in the rules update, so you can find everything that has been changed about. Then we can see that has been also brought an update about the battle profiles that we see, and I'm happy because the most part of those that has been brought are from my armies are quite positive ones, but not all the players will be happy about such ones. Moreover, GW with the Crossmas has brought also other things, has brought the Dark Waters Heroes Legend War Scrolls, and here it's really quite interesting because you have to remember that with this are legend, so remember that technically are not official for the tournaments, okay, but you can play with them, and with this you can play them. It's not a problem about the Nargol ones because those are included in the Battletome of the Magotin of Nargol. Moreover, has been brought the part about the Spearhead tables. So here you can play with 2 players or a player that can play 2 different armies with spearheads against each other. So it's really quite interesting as an alternative way. I quite like this idea. Moreover, has been brought also the Skujogiran Esmith of a shoot for the Esmith of a shoot itself, the 2 December 2025. And it's quite interesting to have alternative ways to play some of the unit about this new army. So it's really quite interesting, and I suggest you to go to see about this that you can find in the Skujogiran section of the Warhammer community rules for Age of Sigmar. So now let's start to see about the rules for the rules update, then the part about the points. Remember that I'll treat and focus only about the updates. If you're interested about the previous ones, I invite you to see in the description because each time I'll bring up only what has been changed. And pay attention. Eventually remember that you can focus on all the things that you are interested about. Still, little by little, let's see the facts. So let's start with the FAQ review, and we can start from the chorus because since a lot of time has been updating this part about the overhanging models. So some models overhang their base. When moving models, overhanging parts should be treated as if they were not existing when determining where a model could be placed. Where possible, a model should be rotated to allow for another model to end a move in proximity to it. While rotating a model this way, the base must occupy the same position. A circular base may be rotated any amount, obviously, while an oval base may only be rotated 180 degrees. And I think that it's obvious because otherwise it will be symmetric, so it will be exactly the same. Otherwise, mark down the location of where the model should be ending its move, such as with an empty base of the same size, and place the model on the side. Return the model to the table as soon as it is physically possible to do so. I think that this is simply, maybe because I'm an old player, it's standard, because it's usual to do this eventually to avoid any problem about positioning the model, or also about knowing exactly where the opponent model should be, so you take note about the real position and then adjust so that there is any problem about. So okay, I think that this should be the base, but if avoid any misunderstanding, okay, perfectly understandable. Then we can see for the master they are exactly the same, but we can find some fact here brought. Here we have about the multiple keyword sentences. So if an ability refers to multiple keyword but as a known at the start of the sequence of keywords, for example, the Scaven Blood Terror Lance, a clue ability which target non-Scare Mulder units. Does this mean that the target must not have any of the keyword listed? In this example, the target shouldn't have the Scare or Mulder keyword, or does it mean that the target cannot have the first keyword but must have the second? In this example, it cannot have Scare but must have Mulder, and they say that none only related to the keyword it is directly attached to. Therefore, in the example given, the target cannot have the Scare keyword but must have the Mulder keyword. If the intent was to exclude both keywords, then it would be expressed as no Scare, no Mulder. Sincerely, here I think that some people have problem about comprehend the text because it's like this explained really quite heavily in the rulebook, and it should work like this. So really you have problem about here. I think that there is someone that has really a bad thoughts about, okay, it wants to misunderstand. It's not something that you misunderstand. Okay, essentially this okay that there is, but I had some problems about the people that will think like this and will question about this, because it's really understandable as it is. Then have that doesn't change too much here, but we can find here about the strike last, okay, how you can proceed. And okay, I can understand, because here in the combat phase, if all eligible non-strike last unit have used a fight ability, which player gets to pick the first strike last unit to fight. Here it is the alternative sequence of picking units to use a fight ability will continue, and so the player who did not pick the last non-strike last unit would get to pick the first eligible strike last unit in the army to use a fight ability. So okay, it's simply a way to understand better, and really it should be like this anyway, but there are rare cases when I can understand that it could be problematic. So okay, better that it's explained in some way, this timing. Then we can see about the random characteristics. So do you roll a random characteristic roll before or after declaring a run ability, after declaring it, and after all reactions are used? Question about timing, so I understand that eventually could be problematic. So okay, now it's explained clearly. Then about the offensive rules. Here we can say about the terrain. So the wholly terrain, wholly on terrain and behind the terrain. So in your part of the terrain feature within the attacking models combat range for the purposes of determining if the target is behind that terrain feature. Here, okay, it's simply a rephrasing at the end, so you take note about. Then about the advanced parts, okay. And here we can see instead something that could be okay, something that you can discuss about, because we have how does the prismatic palisade branding ability, branding light ability interact with picking targets for shooting attacks. A mod in the attacking unit can only make shooting attacks against the target unit if a straight line can be drawn from that mod to any mod in the target unit without that line crossing the prismatic palisade. And it's exactly the test of what it is the spell, the manifestation. So really there is a problem with this. Okay, it's exactly the same. So you ask yourself when it's written like it should work. Okay, sincerely this is a fact that maybe avoid any misunderstanding, but I don't understand why it is here. Can manifestation use move abilities in the movement phase of the turn that they were set up? No. And it's as it's written how it works in manifestation. So you ask again about this. Really, you don't read? Can magical intervention be used to use the banish manifestation ability after gaining the ability to use banish manifestation from a place of power? And say no. Here I can understand the question, so okay, it's specified better and can understand why it is done so. So now we know how it works. Are manifestation affected by obscuring terrain ability? And say no. Here it's something that you could question about, so okay, good that that has been answered, because eventually it could be problematic, so good that it's said. Then we move on and we can see about Battlefield Ascension that is the same. The glossary is still the same for the match previous blood. The spearhead, fire and jade the same. Here again the same. Also for the spearhead, sand and bone, it remained exactly the same. Then we had the general handbook 24-25. Here it remains other than really great changes. Then about the general handbook 25-26, here we have some changes. We have about the terrain, and here it's the same things that we have seen before about wholly on terrain and behind the terrain. So if it changes for the backseat rules, it changes also for the general handbook part. Okay, it's something that you take note. But we have here something that is part about the obscuring universal terrain ability that has been changed. So obscuring has been changed to while every model is a non-monster, non-war machine unit that does not have the fly keyword and is within 1 inch of this terrain feature, the following apply. 1. That unit is only visible to the enemy units that are within its combat range. 2. The range characteristic of that unit range weapon is hard, rounding down to the nearest inch. Okay, here sincerely I think that it's okay, and I think that has been adjusted because we had the release of the estimate of shoot Battletome that had quite a lot often about such rules. So here I think that it's been adjusted also to combine with that grid change at the end. So you have to remember about this because it's an important change. Then we can see that nothing else has been changed here, but we have a fact. So when hero is activate place of power and pick tap the ley lines, can use they both use the unbind ability and the banish manifestation ability in the same phase, and say no. So you take one of these, and I think that it's fair like this, so it's not a problem. Then we can continue. Okay, we had the faction pack here. Remember that you have to see more in detail what has been changed based on what you need, so that I really scroll other than the armies that I'm really common with. So we have about the Cards of Fate Weaver that has a rollback about the it was called because it had a problem. So pay attention about this. Okay, you take note. Then about the add-ons of Slaanesh, that we have a change about the logs of Slaanesh that now has a command point cost of 1 CP, and it changed how it works. The test is rephrasing. So set up a replacement unit with half the number of models from the target unit rounded up, wholly within 12 inch of this unit and more than 9 inch from all enemy units. Okay, you take note. I think that it's more a standardization about this. Then how about here for the summons mesmeric mirror? So set up a mesmeric mirror wholly within 18 inch of the caster, visible to them, and more than 3 inch from all enemy units. This I think that it's the real change because it's with keeping the distance. Okay, understandable. Also this we'll see in another places later. Then about here the case the Dominate Demon Lords. So change the last stances of the effect summon Phantom of Amintok to a Phantom of Amintok as 3 parts that must be set up with the tip of each part touching the tip of another part, so that the 3 parts form a ring with the target inside. So here it's I think more clarifying how it works. So okay, you take note eventually. Then we can continue. Okay, we have this about the Magotin of Nargon that has a change about here the timing for the vector of the fullest contagion of the Lord Affliction. So once per turn army any combat phase. You take note eventually. Then we can continue on. The Subrip has not changed, but we have some change about here the Seraphon with the Sunblood pack. So change the timing of the Venomed Swarm to once per turn army any combat phase. And we have some change also about the Sun Master that we see it's about the same that we've seen for Slaanesh. So in this case it's about the Celestial Reinforcement. So 1 command point. Change the effect of the Celestial Reinforcement. Set up a replacement unit with half the number of models from the target unit rounded up, wholly within 12 inch of this unit and more than an inch from all enemy units. So you take note about this. I think that it's okay because being standardized, you know better how it works, so it's not a problem then, I think. Then we can continue. We have something about the Simanet. Here are little about the manifestation lore, and it's an adjustment that we see also for other spells later. So here about the Green Worm, wholly within 12 inch of and visible to the caster and more than an inch from all enemy units. Set up the Vengeful Skurrot, wholly within 12 inch and visible to the caster and more than an inch from all enemy units, and change the effect of the Summon Spectworm Hive so that it's wholly within 18 inch and visible to the caster and more than 3 inch from all enemy units, as we've seen for the Slaanesh one. So I think that also here it's as I said, a standardization how they work. So okay, not a bad thing. Then we can continue on and we can see about the facts of the faction pack. Here we can see this, that it's about the Keeper of Secret Dark Temptation ability. So can I pick that if the target is damaged, here defree the target option. If the target is not damaged, is say no. And it's obvious because if it's not damaged, you can heal. So you can't pick it as a target. I think that it's obvious, but okay, really problematic this one. Then we can see here about the Alchemy Wildwood for the Sivanet, and essentially here we can find that this piece of terrain, it's always a problem about the cement, because I had to continue to adjust it. Anyway, can I set up an awakened wildwood so that parts under 1 inch tall are under friendly mods, and say no, you can't move a mod to put the awakened wildwood parts underneath it, but the awakened wildwood can be set up around a mod so that the mod is within the empty circle formed within the parts of the awakened wildwood. I think that someone that asked this has a malicious mind, because it's obvious that you can't put out a mod to push the awakened wild and then refill the model in, because it will be really a problem with the basic rules of the game. So really, someone really ask about this, someone really think about doing this. Okay, then how about the other digital ones? So remember that here you have to see which one you are interested with. And we can see that there is a problem about the Scourge of Gear and the cities of Sigmar with the part about the importance of the nest with the Sigmar wheel. Okay, here sincerely it's always something that continue to change, so a little adjustment. I think that you has some problems with such ability. Then we can see about the Fish the Curse Aberrant Cool King. So change the last sentence of the effect of the Long Life the King to melee weapons used by friendly and ranged units have crit out of wounds and score critical hits on a modified hit roll of 5+, even if this unit has been destroyed. Here the thing that has been changed is even if this unit has been destroyed, that it will be as should work this ability, but you have to pay attention eventually, because it means that you continue to gain this ability. And I think that maybe in the future we'll see this fact again, because there is not the enrage word highlight. So okay, we'll see. Anyway, you know this change that is really quite important. Then how about the Gloomspite Kids with the Sports Platter Fanatics? So change the first sentence of the effect spinning loose to if this unit was not set up this phase, this unit can move 2d6. I think that it's more like a rephrasing about this. Then we can continue. We can see that we have about the boss code here for the Seraphon that changed the timing of the Venometer Zoom to once per turn army any combat phase. That it's something that we've seen before. So okay, it's a repetition. Okay, but it should be done like this. Then we can see here that as you can see the most part are the same, but we can see some change about the Battletome. So we have about the Blades of Corn with the change about the blood nurture ability, and I think that it's quite important. So go to see and really read the change, because I don't know how it should be the original one. Okay. Then we have some facts here, some change about the Bruisemaster Heart of Corn. So change the last sentence in the effect of the blood must flow to for the rest of the turn. Add 1 to the hit roll for combat attacks made by this unit and that friendly blood units. And also for the burn 2 of Butchery. So roll a number of dice equal to the current battle round number plus the number of units friendly and enemy that has been destroyed this battle. If the roll contains 8 or more result of 3+, set up a replacement unit identical to the target on the battlefield, more than an inch from all enemies. Here it's a battle about summoning, so think about reading it quite good to know when apply, because it's always quite useful, such type of abilities. Then about the Battletome Soulblight that has seen a change about the channel throne. So change the decrease type of ruler of all the Savvy to if this turn feature as a steward, pick a friendly, visible, non-friendly Shitter Goods unit. And here's what has been changed, that is not in combat to be the target. So you have to pay attention about such things. Then about the here the Gunspike Kids, we have a change about the first sense of the effect of carrying destruction. So if this unit is in combat, it can move a distance up to its move characteristic. Okay, and about the timing for the path to glory here for the Fungus Blue, you take note eventually if you play about the path to glory. Then the Gunspike Kids fact has seen no change. We have something about the estimate of a shoot. Here we have a change about the effect of the lava stone for the army of renown Tars Grant for Just. And about here it's changing what it was done before. So you remove the thing before, and you apply this. So pay attention about this change, because it's revisiting what it was. So the last part of the sentence for the paragraph about this player lore. So if the chanting roll was 7+, pick an additional enemy unit to be a target. Inflict D3 mortal damage on each target. And I think that even if it's simple, we see again something that in the next publication that we see again a change about this one, but we'll see. Then here are the parts that are most important about the facts for the helmets or shoot. So if a unit is affected by both the Ashen Rider Stoken Fanatism and the target for choice spell Reinforced Demon Steel, both of which allow a unit to ignore the first damage point allocated to it in a phase. Do those abilities allow that unit to ignore just the first damage point allocated to it, or does that unit ignore the first and the second damage point allocated to it? And obviously, only the first damage point will be ignored, because the second will not be the first. It's about logic about here, but okay. Then about the Regiment Renown, the Steel Battery. If one of the war machines in the Steel Battery has been destroyed, can the display of total power ability be used? And say yes. This is important because you have 2 war machines there, so if one is killed, it's obvious to ask about, but okay. Then there is something that is really quite important. It was understandable also before, but better that is specified. So when used in a Tar Grand Forged army, gain a demonic power point, for example, from the Infernal Court with a Ashutite Spear Conquer the Land ability. And remember that is one of the few ways to gain demonic power points with this army renown. That is lose that demonic power points at the end of the battle round and say no. And it's obvious because remember that you are missing the part about the original battle traits for the Hemswa shoot, that it was also the part about removing demonic power points. So even if it's really quite problematic to gain demonic power point with this army renown, at the same time, once that you gain, you keep. Moreover, remember that you have Tar that can redistribute them, so pay attention because it's one of the main bonuses about this army renown, so it will be quite important one. Then about the Adrian Deepkin, that see this about the Abyss Tendril, that is a separate manifestation to the incarnate of the deep and other abyssal tendrils. So yes, and each Abyss Tendril add 1 to an opponent Abyss banishment roll. So okay, it's really quite interesting for the ones that play, because it means that they can gain more bonuses about. Then we have tons of change about the Battletome card overloads, that is for example about the change the second set of the flagship to, if the target does not have the crit and rework, give the target 1 crit and rework. And we have timing change about the Skywardens, the Volgrim Savages, and the Volgrim Harpoon Crew. So you have to see if it's something that it's really quite game changing for yourself. Then about the army renown, the managed crew, that are the following at the end of the army description. So it cannot be included in another hero regiment, but gains the following regiment option: any managed crew units. Okay, nice. And a change about the cutting edge and impacts, but here sincerely you have to see based on the Battletome, because I don't have it, so you have to verify. And then have some change about the Battletome of the Night Hound. So about the manifestation lore, had a change about the summon Shise Reaper, so that set up a Shise Reaper wholly within 12 inch and invisible to the target, and more than an inch from all enemies. Here the change is about the range, so from 9 inch before to 12 inch now, so not bad. About the per gaze, change the timing of the light of fire to once per turn army. Okay, since it's not something that is really quite a change, but pay attention. And I have about the Regiment Renown Casket of Resurrection. Change the timing of Dark Resurrection to once per turn army and of any turn. So it means that you can use only once, but it will be a problem anyway, because anyway it's only a single bell coach, so it's quite difficult to apply more than once anyway. So okay, you have to remember about this, but it's not something that really changes something about. About the Battletome Orc War Clans, we have about Zokrok and smash. So change the last sentence of the effect word smashing chopper to word roast cannot be made for a word smashing unit even if this unit has been destroyed. And it's quite important because it means that you keep that banishment about the word roast even if you kill this. So it's quite important, I think. Then how about the about the path to glory and about the army of renown, the Zocker strong monsters. So here we had that change the first sentence of the second paragraph of the effect get them Gork to roll a d3 each time an enemy unit ends a move within 6 inches of a turn feature that is tamped by Gork that combined with the fuck. So is damage inflicted on a unit that finished a move within 6 inches of a tamped by Gork turn feature damage inflicted by a player ability, and say yes. So the two things combined can be really quite intriguing, in my opinion. Then about the Battletome Skaventide, nothing changed. About the Slave to Darkest, we see a change about the Dark of Working. Okay, you take note about the Ruin Blessed Conqueror. Then no facts change about the Slave to Darkness, and we can see some change about the manifestations about the Soulblight Gravelords. So here it's about standardization as we've seen before. So about the Hand of Nagash will be within 12 inch and visible to the caster and more than 9 inch from all enemy units. Here change from 9 inch to 12 inch. About the Summoning Sanguinis Worm, set up a Sanguinis Worm will be within 12 inch and visible to the caster and more than an inch from all enemy unit, and a Sanguinis Worm spell has 2 parts that must be set up within an inch of each other. Here the changes are 2. The distance, so now from 10 it's been 12 inch, and the part about the distance of the 2 Sanguinis Worm. This it's really quite important because you can't push them where you want, but you have to keep this specific distance that it's within an inch. Sincerely, I think that it's fair like this. Then have the change about the Summon Unholy Reliquid that set up an Unholy Reliquid wholly within 18 inch of the caster and visible to them, and more than 3 inch from all enemy units. As we've seen for other spells, here it's a way to keep with a standardization about. So okay, I understand sincerely, a bit more problematic to position, but not really a problem. Then how about the Battletome Soulblight that remain the same? Here again for the Path to Glory Ravage Coast that remain the same. So here we can see that the most part are little correction, little adjustment. There are some things that can be really quite intriguing as clarification, so not a problem. And other that, sincerely, I think that someone that asks about those things has a malicious thought about. So really, otherwise you don't understand really how to read them. Okay, in a way, I think that it's quite fair because there are little adjustments, so nothing really massive, but quite important way to read for. And now we go to see about the points. Then we can start with the battle profiles, and here we see quite a lot of few changes. We can start with the Cities of Sigmar that see the Alchemist Warforged 10 point more, Calice and Toll 20 point more, the Fusimari on Ogre War Hulk that is 10 point more, okay. And then we can find the Frigald Common Corps that are 10 point more, the Iron Will the Great Cannon 10 point more, sincerely here I could understand. The Voidcore Hunters added 10 point more, so not too much, but maybe some rooster could be a bit to readjust. Then we have the Dotto Skin that is sort of balanced, because we have the Queen that is 10 point less, and the same for the Melusai Iron Scale, but we have 20 point more for the normal version of the Ketusa the Cronseer. So here it depends by what you play, otherwise it could be a bit of gaining, okay. Then we have about the part about the Five Slayers, and here it's a bit heavy because we have the Auric Runefad that it's 10 point less, but we have the Auric Runefad on Magmadorf that it's 10 point more, the Auric Runemaster that it's 10 point more, the Auric Runesmeter on Magmadorf that it's 20 point more, the Auric Runson 10 point more. At least we save a bit with the Grimwatch Berserker that it's 10 point less, 20 point more for the Scourge of Giran version of the Auric Runson on Magmadorf, and if you think that has been updated the point for the part about the normal version, okay, understandable. Then we have 10 point more for the Vulcan Flame Seeker, and we have also increase point about the ones that are for the battle formation, in case of Vulcanix, that it's now 20 points with 10 point more, and the Artifact of Power Dwarf Helm, that it's now with 20 point more, 30 points. So I think that it's one of the most expensive about the Artifact of Power. Okay, not a good thing. Then the Idon Deepkin, that see 10 point less for Isharan Sulsky and 10 point less for Lotan Warden of the Soul Ledgers, and other 10 point less for Akelian Ishan Guard, that I think that it could be quite interesting for the ones that play with this, and also 10 point less for the Skurjogiran Marty Trials option. So okay, not bad. Nothing to see changes about the battle formation zone, at least here. Then we move to the Caradon Overload, that see 10 point more for the Godbright, and notice 10 point less instead for the Skurjogiran version of the same. So okay, so it's remain a bit less disparage from this. I think that it's understandable. Then we have 10 point more for the Grustone Thunderous and 10 point more for the Vongrim Harpoon Q. Sicily, okay, I don't understand why this. I think that it will be okay as they were, but okay. Then we move about see also a little pity for the increase of point about the battle formation of the Pioneers Skaventide, that it's 10 point more. Same for the 10 point more increase for the battle formation and Ranger Guide Expeditionary Force, that it's now 20 points, so quite a lot. The Rogue Trait Shoot Opportunist, that it's 10 points now, and the Artifact Power Celestium Blast Grenade, that it's other 10 points. So you have to pay attention more about these accessory parts that are essential. So accessory and essential will be problematic. Then about the Luminator Realm Lord, that see 10 point more for Elane and the Lantern, the Eclipse War Sages, that are okay, understandable in some way. Then we have 10 point less for Lurger Ultrael, Warden of Immetrica. We have 10 point less also for Shinari Caligrave, and same for the Shinari Losika and the Vanary Lord Regent. But we have 10 point more for the Skurjogiran version of the Light of Eltarion. Okay, understandable. And here we have a mix, because we gain that we had the Alarit Stone Guard, that it's 10 point more, but we gain 10 points from the Huracan Wind Charges. So it depends by what you play with, and here it's based on your rooster, I think. Then we have about the Seraphon, and here it's to have fun, because the Saurus Blood on Carnosaurus, it's 20 point less, quite intriguing, and I'm quite glad about this. 10 point less for the Saurus Carveteran on Agrodon. Nice. The Saurus Carveteran on Carnosaur, it's again 20 point less. So here it becomes even more playable, and because I like to play with them, I'm quite happy about. 10 point less also for the Skink Oracle on Troglodon, so not bad at all in my opinion. And then we have that the Bastillodon with the Solar Engine, it's 20 point less. As I said, it's going to fall again. We have 10 point more for the Rapidon Charges, that's sincerely okay. I don't understand why, but okay. And 10 point less for the Spawn of Chotek, that becomes even more understandable that you could try, because it's quite intriguing. Then we move about the Stormcast Thanos, that see a discount about the Krondis Son of Dracotion, that is 20 point less, so understandable. It's anyway expensive, so it's something that it's give you some brief, but you have to combine with other things. And we have also 10 point less for the Lord Commander Bastian Cartalus, and 20 point less for the Lord Vigil on Morglyph, that here sincerely I think about, because it can be really quite intriguing to play. Then we can see that we have also other discount about the Darkotian part, so the Darkotian Guard Desolators are now 10 point less, and same for the Darkotian Guard Desolators by one model. And here it's something that you have to think, because if you're going to play with the Darkotian, I think that you can save a bit to play with something else. We have also discount about the Praetors, that are 10 point less. Increase a point about the Vanguard Pallados with the Star Strike Javelins. Okay, understandable, this ones. 10 point less about the Vindicators. And here it's interesting, because are a troop, so it's something that you play more, and so you can save even more. And then don't have anything changed about the part about the battle formation and so on. Okay, nice. And then we move to the Sylvanet that see the Arch Revenant 10 point less, the Drika Hamadret that is 20 point less, and the Radio Wines that is 10 point less. So they are continuing to down about the points. Then we have 10 point less for the Kunut Hunter with the Kunut Swords, and 20 point less for the Revenant Seekers. So you can see quite a lot with the Sylvanet and maybe play also something else. Maybe it's really quite to try eventually, because we have also a decrease on point, so they come back to 0 with the heroic trait Spellsinger and the Article of Power Seed or Rebirth. So here, if you are going to play a combination of these discounts, I think that you can save quite enough to play maybe another unit. It's or change maybe some units that you can play, so not bad. Then we have the Blades of Corn that see the Brass Secretor 10 point less. It's a model that I love, sincerely, so it's quite nice to see it at an affordable price. The Mighty Lord of Corn that is 10 point less, same for the Riamgor Ritualist. Instead, Scarband is 20 point less, so not bad at all. And then we have also the Scourge of Giran version of the Mighty Lord of Corn that is 10 point less, so it's not bad anyway. So it's always a way to save points. And we have also the Blood Warriors that are 10 point less, the Blood Crusher 10 point less, and the Blood Letters 10 point less, as same as the Mighty Skull Crusher. So if you're going to play with a lot of combination of these, you can save enough maybe to play something else or try some. Not bad at all, in my opinion. For the one that play Con, I think that will be satisfied. The Siege Pole of Singe, see the Curseling, the Eye of Singe, that is 10 point less, and same for the Gaunt Summoner. Instead, we have 10 point more about the Scourge of Giran version of the Ogre Thaumaturgs. So, okay. And then we have also increase on point of 10 about the Tsangors. I think that, okay, sincerely, I don't know if it's okay or not, because I don't see them too much. Then we have discount of 10 points for the Article of Power 99 tomes. So here I think that it will be quite intriguing as a discount. Then we have the Agents of Slanish, the C 10 points less for Lord of Rubies and for the Mask. Instead 20 points less for the Seal Eske, the Vengeful Alliances. Here it will be always problem to pronounce them. And also add the 20 points less for the Scourge of Giran version, so they still cost the same, so you can really see the one that you are preferring to play, because if you want to include it's the same amount of points, so not bad. And then also, però, anyway, the part about 10 points more for the Fiends. Here, okay, not a problem, but here you have to decide how to play, because we had 10 points more for the Battle Formation Invaders and 10 points less for the Article of Power Pendants of Slanish. So if you play both, I think that you can be on pair, so it's not a problem, you are balanced them. And then we move to the Smith of Ashut. We have 30 points less for the Demonsmith on Infernal Taurus. Here I think that it's a way to make it more playable than Uraktar, because the difference is really quite a lot. Then we have 10 points less for the Anointed Sentinel, okay. Remember that you have the Scourge of Giran version for the War Despot that I said before. So here, remember that you have, and it's something that you have to value if you prefer this or the normal version. Then we have the Dominator Engine with the Bane message that has seen 10 points less. Here I think that they have to decrease even more, because the one that is with the Demolition Cannon is still anyway better. So okay. And then have also the Scourge of Giran version for the court with the Ashutite plates, that here we have the points. So remember that are all in the document, so it's everything that you have to verify which one you prefer as option. And sincerely, I think about this version anyway compared to the normal one. Then we move to the Magotino Nargor, and here sincerely we can find that hasn't seen any change at all. It's one of the few that has been remained stable. Then we move about the Scaventide, see 10 points more for the Death Masters, 20 points more for the Plague Priest on the Plague Furnace, and 20 points less for Taco on the Bone Reaper. Okay, you have to pay attention about this. And 20 points less for the Vitzik Skur Prophet of the Horned Rat. Okay, it's a big mod and it's always beautiful. We have 10 points less for the Plague Pack. Then we have 20 points less for the Ratting War Blast, 10 points less for the Stone Fiends AI, This sincerely would be better to be stay as they were as price. 10 point less for the stone vermin and 10 point less for the warfire throwers. So you can say quite a lot with the Skaventide end. And no point change anyway for the battle formation and so on. Then about the Slate to Darkness, we had 20 point less for Abraxas, Spear of the Overchosen, 10 point less for Belacor, okay. Then we had 10 point less for the Chaos Lord on Karkadrak, and 10 point less for the Demon Prince, and also for the Dakota Chieftain on Warsteed, so not a problem. And we have also 20 point less for the Scourge of Giran version of Abraxas, so here you have to choose which one you want to play. Then we have 10 point less for the Chaos Warriors. Here it's heavy, okay. They are quite expensive anyway, but little by little you can escape out a lot of points at the end. Because we can see that here you can see the master part about, because we have 30 point less for both the Legion of the First Prince Beast on Argon and Blood Letters, as same for the Legion of First Prince Hellflyers. So if you play this, you can see quite a lot, because there's been discounted really quite a lot. Instead, only 10 points for the Legion of Prince Blood Crush and the Legion of First Prince Fins. So here, if you're going to play with Belacor, I think that you can say quite a lot, and there are enough at the end that you can play another unit at least, or anyway, really gain quite a lot. Then we have 10 points less for the Ogroid Pteridons and 10 points less for the Vanguard. Here, the Vanguard, essentially, it's never good news for the opponents that go against them, because they are really quite awesome, okay. Then we can see about the Fresh Eater Kurz, let's see, 10 points less for the Abhorrent Archregent, okay. 10 points less for the Abhorrent Ghoul King, and notice that it's the same for the Scourge of Giran version of the Abhorrent Ghoul King. So here you have to choose which one you want to play, because sincerely it's okay, not bad at all. And then the Abhorrent Ghoul King now it's the same price of what it was the Scourge of Giran version before, so you can choose or switch each other. We have increasing point for the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Royal Targus and on Royal Zombie Dragon. And sincerely here, okay, sincerely I think that we see again a plummeting of points next, because anytime that they try to raise in price this, then they fall back and even more. Then we have 10 points less for the Maroscore Heralds. Here it continues to move up and down. I think that they can't decide. Maybe 5 points more it will be the middle, okay, but you don't have the alpha of 10 points here. And I have also 10 points less for the Vargulf Courtier, that it's quite welcome, sincerely. And then no change of point for the battle formation and so on. Then we move to the Night Hound. Here we have 20 points less for Overwatch, the drone, that I think that it's really quite interesting. 10 points less for the Guardian of Sur, and for the Knight of Shroud on Eternal Steed, and same for the Curse of Valentian on the Craven King. Instead we have 10 points more for the Krugast Crusader, and for Lady Olinder 20 points more, sorry, for the Lady Olinder Mortek of Grief. Okay, here Lady Olinda, sincerely I would have preferred that remained the same price. Then we have 20 points less for Reckoner than Grimcaller. And then notice that you have also added 10 points less for the Scourge of Giran version of Kurdos Valentian. So they both had the decrease point, so not bad at all. But we had to see quite a lot of update point for the part about the normal units. So the Chain Rasp are 10 points more, the Craven from Guard are 10 points more, so you save from Valentian and then they raise for the Craven from, okay. Then 10 points more for the Grave Wraith Stalkers, 20 points less for the X-Wraith, that sincerely I quite like, because I tried to use them quite a lot. 10 points more for the Mimum Banshee, and 20 points more for the Parghest. So what you save from the X-Wraith, you pay back for the Parghest, okay. And I had 10 points more for the Scourge of Giran Black Coach. That's sincerely okay. It can be understandable, I think. Sincerely, it's never good when there is, but okay, understandable. And nothing changed for the other of the part about the Night Hound for the battle formation and so on. Then we move about the Ossable Reapers, and here I'm really quite happy because we had 10 point less for the Mortisan Bone Shaper. Okay, 10 point less also for Mortian Master of the Bone type. But I'm glad about the Bone Shaper because I was always with some rules that was 10 point and I was playing the Bone Shaper. So seeing like this, it's much better because now I don't have to choose maybe the Skujogiran version to save that those 10 points, but they cost the same. So I'm really quite happy. Then about 10 points less for the Morghast Harbingers. Nice. But moreover 10 points less for the Mortek Crawler. Here I'm really quite glad because I tend to play at least one of these or even more, so it means saving quite a lot of points that you can use for something else, so not bad at all, and nothing else, but anyway it's good news. Then we move about the Soulblight Gravelords that see 20 points less for the common throne, and I'm quite happy because I tend to play with such model. 20 points less again for the Laokavai, Mother of the Nightmares. 10 points less for Nagash, Supreme Lord of the Undead. Since I don't play with it, so I don't care at all. Then we move and we can see 10 points less for the second Fang on Ulamia, and same 10 points less also for the Scourge of Giran version. So it's more affordable, both of them. Then we can see the White Lord on Skeleton Steed that it's 10 points less. Now it's so decreasing point that you can almost play two of these at the price of a single Viking. Okay, sincerely, I don't understand why the Viking on Skeleton Steed is so high anyway, but the Warlord tend to be the main choice now, because you can say quite a lot and readjust everything based on this. I think that it's okay, not bad at all. And then we can find that it's interesting because also the Revenant Dragonite has seen a decreasing point of 10. Here it's costing more about having the model of the Revenant Dragonite than to play it. Okay. And nothing has changed about the battle formation and so on. Then we move to the Gloomspike Hits that see 10 points less for Rebel Rovza. Okay, continue. And here a mix because we can find that we have 10 points more for the Bone Growth Budders and for the Doom Diver Catapult, but 10 points less for the Dunkhold Trogot. We have 10 points more for the Snarpak Cavalry and for the Sunstealer Villas, so you have to pay attention. And we have also 10 points more for the Scourge of Giran, Sportpatra Fanatics. Okay, sincerely they can increase even more about this ones. Nothing else has been changed. Then about the Iron Jaws, here it's a mix because we have the Mega Boss that it's 10 points less, but the Mega Boss on Mo Crusher it's 10 points more, and the Task Boss on the Mog Granta it's 10 points more, so you have to pay attention which one you're going to play with. Then we have the Brute Ragers that are 10 points less, but the part about the Mogrunza Gouges that are 10 points more, and same for the very Brute Vrekas that are 10 points more, but the Scourge version of the Gorgruntas it's 10 points less, so you have to decide which one to play because the Scourge Gruntas are more affordable than before, but you can anyway play with the normal one that costs less. Enough change about the battle formation artifact and so on. Then we move to the Cool Boys that are 20 points less for the Goblet Sprack, the Mouth of Mork. Then we have 20 points less also for the Swamp Boss Scumdrack, and notice that it's also 20 points less for the Scourge Swamp Scumdrack. So both of them decrease on points, so it's anyway the Scourge 10 points more than the normal one before. So you have eventually the option to choose because it's not so much difference about the points, and maybe you can save enough to play with. Okay, you can decide. And nothing else has changed about the rest. Then we move about the Ogre that changed a bit about the regiment option about the Butcher and the Firebelly. Okay, but we have a discount about 20 points for the Frost Lord on Thunder Tusk. Here it's quite heavy as decrease, and 10 points less for the Asker on Thunder Tusk. Okay, also here it's quite heavy. Another little change about the option for the Southern Master. And then we can see a lot of decreasing point for the Noble Scope Launchers that are 10 points less, for the Iron Blaster, for the Iron Guts, for the Moonfang Pack, for the Ogre Gluttons, and for the Thunderscrolls Beast Riders. And also 10 points less for the Skujogiran version of the Global Scoop Launcher. So the Global Scoop Launcher, you can choose which one to use. So the normal version of the Skujugirang one. If you combine all the other things, I think that you can save enough to play something else. So here it becomes quite heavy, because they come back to have really quite imponent mass to deploy eventually these Ogumor tribes. Then we see nothing else about the battle formations on that change. And then about the Son of Behemoth, see some change about, so 20 points less for the Skujugirang version of the Kraken Eater Mega Gargant. So, okay, sincerely, now it's the same of the normal version, so you can choose which one to play, the normal version or the Skujugirang one. And then we have also 10 points less for the Minecrasher Gargant. Nothing has changed. And then we have the Universal Manifestation Laws that has nothing that has been changed. Then we move about the Regiment of Renown, and here we can see quite a lot of change, because a lot of the units that we've seen have seen a little change, so they have a change about also the point about the Regiment of Renown that include them. So the Force of the Tide, that it's about the Osuborip, that it's 20 points less, okay, same for the Exile Scavengers, and 50 points less for the Goran Shions, so quite heavy. This one has a change of point, because it means that you can say quite a lot if you were playing before. Then 10 points less for the Snack Trog Fire. We have 60 points less for the Lost Long Spirits. Okay, I can understand, because we've seen that Spider-Man has seen a decrease on point, but 60 points less, it's quite a lot. Then we have the part about the Twin Tones, that it's 20 points less, but we have again 50 points less for the Shorty Flame Beers. So wow, it's quite heavy, this discount. We have 10 points less for Grottek Gunnison, 30 points less for the Namarty Snow Raids, 30 points more for the Skyport Prophetess, but we've seen that the Caradon has seen quite a lot of increase on point. Then we have 20 points less for the Varnish Stormbringers. Okay, understandable, but considering that they see a decrease on point about the Storm Drake Guard, I think that it's understandable. Then we move to see that we have 50 points less for the Brands of Bound, 40 points more for the Steel Battery, and understandable in my opinion. Then we have 40 points less for Scarband, that is still cost less than the normal version in the Corn Battletome. Okay. Then we have 70 points less for the Argus Pit Beast. So okay, here it's if you are going to play with this before, you can save really quite a lot. 10 points less for the Criticos Crab Pack. We have 40 points less for the Rod Scantion Chosen. Okay, sincerely understandable, because we're seeing that there's a decrease on point in Rod unit. 10 points less for the Red Revelation. We have 50 points less for the Vault Close Engine Cover. So okay, against Cavancy, quite a lot of decrease on point. Then we have 50 points less for the Ravenant Draconite, that now cost the same than the points that has been decreased for the Super Gavels. So here you can choose eventually, because here if you were going to play before, now you're going to play for sure, because you can see quite a lot. And sincerely, I'm really quite thinking about to start maybe in my Ossabo Reaper, one of these to choose. Then we have 20 points less for the Blades of the Hollow King, 10 points less for the Scaven from Executioner. Okay, notice that here we've seen the Scaven from Guard has seen an increase on point, so it's quite fun to see a decrease on point about having two of them when okay, understandable. Then we have 40 points less for the Lich Hand. Okay, sincerely it's an option. Then we have 40 points less for the Shields of the Necropolis. Okay, here it's really quite heavy a discount, so you could try eventually. We have 20 points less for the Stangees Garrison. Okay, sincerely I don't understand why, but okay. We have 10 points less for the Vermont Chambers. That okay, it's quite simple unit, so it could be played. Then we have 20 points less for the Big Greeks Cool Shot, 10 points less for the Brackets Bottom Trussels. We have 10 points more for the Hurtling Hogs, 40 points less for the duck hunting crew, okay, and 30 points less for the Skullkicker Loon lads. So we can see that has been changed quite a lot. About the Warhammer Legends here, there's not been yet been included the part about the Darkwater heroes, okay, so we see them next month, I think. So for now they are in the separate document, so not a problem. But here we can see that has not been changed anything because they are quite stable about these ones. So okay, sincerely we are seeing quite a lot of changes. For the most part there will be not too much, but for others you have to think about eventually, because they can change a bit about how you play with your rooster, and you can have to change maybe in positive or negative. So you have to understand about your army, what it's worth for. So to say about such facts and points, sincerely I think that for the most part about the facts are okay, are little adjustment that I can understand, so it's not a problem. Some are little clarifying that I think that it's okay that there are, so that avoid any misunderstanding. Other, a little amount, are things that make me doubt if someone know to read, or really about having malicious mind about, because the one about the Simonet for the Wildwood, I think that it was really quite problematic as foot, okay. And about the points, I'm happy because the most part for the ones that I play are a good thing, because I see quite a lot of points. Other, for example, the Caradon, are not so happy about. Other doesn't see a really great change, are little adjustments, so okay. But not bad in my opinion. It's something that you have to modify eventually and adjust, but you have a lot of fun with, so it's something that you have to test then. Anyway, I'm really quite curious about your thoughts about, are you glad about such facts, about the point in change other than the character overloads, okay? And really, I'm quite curious to know about your opinion, because I think that it's quite interesting. But eventually in the comments about. Anyway, from deynonmod it's everything. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell so to receive notification about new video, to comment under here about this video, or if you want to suggest me new videos. So, I hope to see you again to the next time.